All right, so welcome to AP Biology, 6th period on a Friday, and I know you guys are exhausted. You've had a tiring week, and you've done really well, though. I mean, you really did. You've been doing well, I think, all these 3 weeks. I'm proud of all of you. I'm proud of all of us, actually. I think this has been a really difficult situation, and I think you're all handling it beautifully. So thank you for showing up and doing your best to follow all these directions all of these teachers are giving you. So what we're going to do today, again, it's going to be very self-paced today. You can go off and work on the 2.1 work, which is, gosh, I mean, cell organelles and structures. So it's like a revisiting of that 9th grade easiest unit ever, okay? Not difficult stuff. Just, you got to remember what the mitochondria was for, remember what the chromosomes were for, all that stuff. Structure, function. You can do that. You can do that. So there's some ed puzzles on that, so you can do that. And then I'm going to have you start to try to do 2.2 work today as well, because you're going to be behind the other class otherwise. They had an extra class that week because of the SATs. So I'm kind of pushing you through that as well today, but both of these little mini units really cut down on what I'm requiring you to do. I made a lot less work for you, okay? There's no aspire to do's on either of these. And the should do's are literally print out some pieces of paper with pictures on it, label in color. That's it. Okay? So it should be a nice hands-on thing. Let me show you. Here. So for 2.2, if you get to it, you're going to print out 3 pieces of paper and tape them together and get your crayons and colored pencils out and color code some things, and then look up the definitions and write them down, and then that's it. That's your should do and aspire to do for 2.2. And for 2.1, it's just the guided reading, not difficult. Okay, that's all. Hopefully you guys have your textbooks now, right? You guys have your textbooks? Yes. Okay, about time that happened. Good. I'm glad you have that. So that'll be really supportive, because there's a lot of nice diagrams of cells and cell organelles in those textbooks that are really going to help you out when you do this. All right. So before I send you off to do work on the 2.1 list, which is already up for you in Classroom, I'm going to give you a very, very brief talk about something called surface area to volume ratio. So just give me a second here. It's going to accordion down, and we're going to go to this PowerPoint. All right. Now, once again, when I'm here on a PowerPoint like this on another shared screen, I can't read your chats. So if you come up upon a question that you want to ask me, you're going to have to turn your mic on. All right. So you should be able to see this. And if I write here on the screen, right here, oops, actually I have to choose the, there we go. All right. So I'm going to talk about probably the most difficult concept, which still isn't that difficult, that you'll encounter today when you look at the ed puzzles I've listed for you. So surface area to volume ratio. All right, so what is that? So what I need you to do is I need you to picture a cell, right? So a cell, let's say this is an animal cell. A cell, you know, it has a nucleus in it, and there's some chromosomes in there, and then you've got, you know, mitochondria, and you've got ER, and you've got some other things, and you've got lysis, you know, got stuff in the cell. So a cell is not flat. A cell is not a two-dimensional thing that you see on a piece of paper in your textbook, and that's how it exists in life. It is three-dimensional. This is coming out at you. I don't know, I can't draw three-dimensionality very well, but you gotta picture that the cell is coming out at you. It's spherical, right? It has dimension to it, and it has a cell membrane that is also not just one flat thing with a bilayer of phospholipids. It is like wrapping cellophane around a ball. That's what the cell membrane is. And that's the surface that we're talking about when we're talking about surface area to volume ratios of cells. So the surface area is really the cell membrane. The cell membrane of cells. Because functionally, that cell membrane, its job, if you may recall this, is to bring in food and take out waste. in the most simplest way we can say it, right? So its job in terms of the importance to this ratio is to bring food in, take waste out. This is incredibly important in the maintaining of the homeostasis of this cell, okay? So that's what the surface area does, the cell membrane does in this scenario. The volume of the cell is what's inside the cytoplasm, right? The cytoplasm, which consists of all of the working machinery inside the cell. And we're going to include the nucleus in that, even though technically the nucleus is not part of the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is out here. But we're going to include the nucleus. We're going to include all of the working interior parts of the cell that are floating around in that liquid cytosolic matrix. So the cytoplasm needs to eat. It needs the food that's being brought in, right? It is working on millions of chemical reactions that are in need of food and that are churning out wastes. The cytoplasm is a place where metabolic reactions occur, right? So the cytoplasm is a very hungry thing. It's very needy. It needs to have food brought in, and it needs to have waste taken out. And if those things don't happen at a fast enough rate, the cytoplasm can start to be suffering in terms of not getting enough food or the toxicity in here building up. So now let's look at this surface area to volume ratio, which is a mathematical thing. So the surface area to volume ratio is a comparison of these two measurements, a comparison of the amount of cell membrane around a cell to its inner greedy cytoplasm. And if that surface area to volume ratio is nice and large, if it's large, if the cell membrane is nice and big compared to the cytoplasm, the volume, you have a happy cell, right? You have lots of food coming in, lots of waste coming out. You have enough cell membrane to service the inside of that volume, right? On the other hand, if the surface area to volume value, right, is small, which means you don't have very much surface area compared to the volume, now you have an unhappy cell, right? Because there's not enough cell membrane to pull in enough food and take out the waste for the cytoplasm that exists. So now it turns out that the surface area to volume ratios are inversely proportional to the size of the cell. And this is a mathematical fact as well. The larger a solid gets, if you had a solid cube and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, the larger it gets, it turns out that the volume increases much faster than the surface area around it. That's just a mathematical reality. The bigger the cube, the smaller the amount of surface area there is compared to the volume inside. Volume grows faster than surface area. I'll write that down. Volume grows faster and larger than surface area. So what that means is the larger the cell is, the smaller the surface area to volume ratio gets. So tiny cells are good. Large cells are bad. That's why cells are small. Okay? And that is because, well, let me just say the result of that is larger cells have less cell membrane to service their needs, to service their metabolic needs. And that's not a good thing. So that's why cells try to find every way they can to increase their surface area, right? So sometimes if you have a larger cell, they compensate for that by having little invaginations like this, because that increases surface area. So sometimes you have that, like in our intestinal cells, actually, our intestinal cells have villi that stick out like that. So surface area, increasing surface area is good because it increases the capacity of the cell to bring in food and push out waste. But that's how the surface area to volume ratio works. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the original screen here. Okay. All right. So are there any questions about that? Okay, you guys are golden then. Yes, Ami.
Sorry, I was thinking about whether to type it or say it, but I'm just gonna say it because it's gonna be faster.
Right.
Can you repeat the like which size makes a happy or sad cell? I kind of got lost there.
Absolutely, yes. And Mr. W is also going to say it in his video, so I would watch that one right away next. But what I'll say is that the larger a cell gets, okay, the larger a cell gets, the less cell membrane area it has per unit of cytoplasm. So that's not a good thing for a large cell because each little unit of cell membrane can only bring in so much food or take out so much waste. So the larger the cell, that ratio, that surface area volume ratio gets smaller. There's less cell membrane available to service that greedy cytoplasm. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
That's a great clarifying question. That's exactly the right question to ask. Beautiful job. Okay. The test that you really know it is going to be, can you actually explain that to another person? I think that's probably the best test. So I'm going to put you in the traditional breakout groups now, the same ones we do when we're just having a learning day. I'll be in one room. I'll give you 3 rooms to join each other in peer groups if you want to talk together. This might be a good time to talk together. And then there'll be a work alone room where you can go and just watch the Ed puzzles on your own. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then we are going to take a break today, and after the break, depending on where everybody is, I think it would be nice to do a Kahoot since it's a Friday, and I think we are well overdue to do something fun like that. How do you feel about that? Kahoot's okay? Yes? Excellent. I'm going, yay, you're listening good. All right, so that is the plan, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go right into Mr. W's Ed puzzle because he's going to elaborate on exactly what I just told you, and he makes really good examples with auger cubes and pink stuff flowing across in this room. So we're going to go into breakout rooms now. It's going to take me a minute. Oops, there we go. So here we are. Oh, there's one peer group. Yeah, I mean, I would encourage you to go into a peer group today and just open your mics up and just be human together. Talk about if you think you can remember what I said about what happens when a cell gets larger and what happens to the surface area to volume. You can do that. That's a really good, completely no pressure, ungraded way to see if you got this. Okay. Okay. So here you go. You may move anywhere you like, and I'm going to call for a break. I think like before 1, like at 12:50, I'll call for a break, and then we'll either do a Kahoot or we'll go into the next thing. Here we go.